afternoon. This is ATW with another episode of No Excuse is a Good Excuse podcast. Today we're coming to you with a topic that I think everyone can relate to in some way or fashion, and that is the hidden cost of playing it safe. I think we've all done it. We've all experienced it from childhood to adulthood and ultimately business. I'm sure everyone, at least myself, can think about a time when you wanted to go out and play a sport or you wanted to get involved with something. You decided to play it safe. You weren't quite sure you were going to be good at it, and instead of taking a risk, you sat back on the bench. And then sometimes you see some other friends or family members or colleagues really benefit from taking a chance. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I've seen that and had the opportunity to try to guide people to work their way through that. A particular client that I can think of is a person who had been in the travel industry for years and years and years, and their product and their model was getting antiquated. And I had suggested to them to replicate a model that I saw from the cruise industry that was really successful, and it was taking their business model, which was a monthly model, and it was turning it into a sales model, more or less of a school, following another company that I don't want to name, but their model, because I think they had everything that they needed, the infrastructure to make it happen. The idea made sense. I was able to meet with several people, cruise executives in the industry, to give feedback on their thoughts about it, and they thought it made sense based on the infrastructure that the organization already had. So lo and behold, that gentleman in charge of that organization is one of the people that I always kind of give the description who has analysis paralysis, or one of the people who always wants to make something perfect. And we talked about that before, that progress beats perfection every time. And ultimately what I found out that for whatever reasons, excuses, that is, this other organization could not replicate something that someone else was already using, which didn't make any sense to me. And now, fast forward 5 or 6 years later, the business has really gone in a downward spiral. And now when they want to reach out and start the process, is really, you've kind of missed the boat. You know, in this type of world, in this type of industry, you've got to be able to be relevant. And when something new comes out, if you want to be a player, you got to do it. I liken that to an example when it comes to restaurants. Remember when McDonald's came out with a dollar value menu? Everybody thought they were crazy and people talked negatively about it. But guess what happened very soon? Burger King came out with a BK value menu. Wendy's came out with a menu. Taco Bell came out with a menu. And you know why? It's not because they all wanted to give their food away. It was because they all knew that they were missing out on a particular client that was looking for value. So if you had a client driving down your boulevard or your street in that city or area, and he or she was on a fixed income, you didn't want them passing your store because they were going to McDonald's and do the value menu. Makes sense, right? So everyone else in that spectrum or that realm decided to follow suit, because again, you want to be able to be a player. And if you want to be a player, you've got to get off the bench and play the game. So the individual I was talking about ultimately was using some overseas programmers and developers, and those developers couldn't do website replication, which was going to be a critical key to making that new program work. And the person in charge of that was one of the type of people who always thought that he knew how to do it better than everyone else. And that's one of the biggest things that can make you be a failure in life and in business, when you think you know more than everyone else. I know it's cliche, but you always hear the cliche saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, then maybe you need to go to a new room. And that previous client really could have taken advantage of that, because he had a plethora of people who were in the industry giving him advice, and he didn't want to take it. He thought he could do it better. And subsequently, I think that company is on the verge of going under, and it's not great for me to see them going under, because I thought it has so much potential and opportunity. But again, like we start with this, when we started out in the beginning of the segment today, there is a huge hidden cost of playing it safe. And sometimes these people who want to play it safe, you got to get in the game. When you look at the current way the economy is going right now, and you look about playing it safe, there's people like myself who had parents and their grandparents that were part of new technology. I think my parents and myself were part of people that were in the generations that got the first personal computers, PCs as they call them, video game consoles. But you think about it, if you're probably anywhere 20 years, 21 years or older, you've been around for a while now, you think this new evolution in the economy, and it's called crypto. So think about the people, myself included, who played it safe on Bitcoin. And imagine how many people are sitting back right now saying, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Wish I would have put $500 in. Wish I would have put $1,000 or $10,000 in when the Bitcoin was $1. Okay, now it's at $100,000 plus dollars. And I'm not saying that you need to go out and be a risk taker and just take risks that don't make any sense, but you do need to take calculated risk, and you need to make sure that you're applying a formula that you can have a return on your investment and look at the probability. Am I going to be the guy that just plays it safe? Am I going to be the girl who just plays it safe and I'm just comfortable being ordinary. We talked about this in previous episodes. In order to go from ordinary to extraordinary, you've got to take some chances. You've got to take some calculated risks. You've got to do some things that other people aren't willing to do to be the one. We talked about it in a previous episode, and it's kind of hilarious when people think about it now, but when I go back early in my career, at my first real, quote-unquote, real corporate job at EDS, Electronic Data Systems, which was owned by Ross Perot, I was in an interview. And again, it was the typical thing where everybody in that interview was telling everybody, oh, I'm dependable, I'm the right guy, I'm the right girl, I'm a hard worker, I'm energetic. Think about it. Those people that are doing those interviews have heard that stuff 101 times per day, per week, per month, per year, and no one's ears perk up when they hear that. So you walk out and you're just another vanilla copy of someone who did an interview. Myself, on the other hand, I let my personality shine through in that interview. And when they said, why should we hire you, Alan? I said, honestly, you'll be crazy not to. I'm the best thing going today. And I thought they were taken aback. Even I think one of them kind of almost chuckled. And I said, well, I know it's hilarious. I know it's atypical to say that, but that's how I really feel. I've been here. I've been evaluating the competition, and I feel beyond a shadow of a doubt that I can deliver this job. I have the expertise, the background, and I have all the regular things that everyone has, the regular variables, okay, that people have, which are, of course, you should have in that role. But I've got the extra additive, and that is the confidence, the belief, and the knowing that I am the best guy for this opportunity. And luckily for me, that worked out. And they gave me an opportunity, and I was able to put my money where my mouth was and able to take that one position and let it be the conduit for my career and allow me to progress and move on in that organization and ultimately be seen by higher ups in that organization who later went to another larger organization than we were at the time, and they recruited me and I followed them, and it really shaped and molded my career. So the reality of it is now, me living in Florida, growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, I didn't play it safe. I didn't stay in Raleigh like all my friends, families, and cousins and just want to work 25 or 30 minutes from home. I had been working for several years in regular jobs before I got the chance to get that great job at EDS, and that job pushed me to the limits of working additional hours, late nights, weekends. I ran the building during a hurricane and a blizzard, and it was things that made me stretch my comfort level. And ultimately, when I got the job opportunity to leave and move to Ohio, believe it or not, it was my stepfather who was telling me, don't leave, we're gonna miss you. Don't leave. What are you talking about? You've got two homes here in Raleigh. You've got your mom, myself, my siblings, my dad, all my family from both sides of my family in Raleigh. But again, I didn't want to play it safe. I saw the cars in the parking lot. I saw what was happening where I was at, and I didn't want to just be one of the guys. I wanted to be the guy. So I took a chance, and I moved to Ohio, to a small town in Ohio, and I basically was on my own. And believe it or not, it worked out great. It gave me an opportunity to move in and really focus and dial in on work. It gave me an opportunity to shine and build a center around my procedures and processes, and for that center to get its highest ranking ever underneath my regime and underneath my management. So I think back now, and I think about so many people in my family who look up to me and ask me, how did I make it? And I said, really, I took chances because I didn't play it safe. I didn't want to stay in town where I grew up in and just do that for the rest of my life. I wanted to make it big. And the saying is sometimes you got to make it big. You got to go to the big city. You've got to move from down south to New York or vice versa. So again, the hidden cost of playing it safe is you'll never know. And I think we talk about it a lot. We talk about cliche things that people say. And one of the biggest regrets you hear people say at the latter stages of their life, in the twilight years, they have regrets on things they wanted to do that they didn't do. No one regrets, I wish I would have worked more hours at work, or I wish I would have took another course, or I wish I would have did this. They regret not taking a vacation. They regret not doing more when their children, when they were at home in those early adolescent years. And now that they're an adult and they moved away like me and they have grandkids, they miss them, and they regret not doing some of the things they wanted to do. They regret when you're a business owner and now you're about to retire and you only have 2 locations, and you know someone else who started around when you did, and now their kids are inheriting a 35 or 40 location operation. You have the regret of, I maybe played it too safe. Maybe I could have been a little bit more aggressive. Maybe I could be leaving my family a legacy right now because I had the same opportunity that John had, who has 40 locations, and now I have 2, and we both started out with 2. So that's what I mean about don't get caught up in just sitting back on the bench and being comfortable. being on the bench. If you want to be Joe Montana, you want to be LeBron, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, you want to be the best of the best, you got to get off the bench and you got to get in the game. And on top of that, when you get in the game, you got to seize your moment. When you get the moment, you've got to make the most of it. Because there's no guarantees you're going to get a second, third, or fourth chance. So remember that, and remember that when it comes to playing it safe, again, a guy that likes sports, I'm not saying don't go for it on 4th and 1, because I'm going to go for it on 4th and 1, but I'm going to go for it on 4th and 1 with a jumbo package with a whole bunch of guards and a fullback, and we're going to do a quarterback sneak. We're not going to do it from the shotgun and try to throw a 25-yard pass when all we need is a half a yard to get the first down to win a national title. So again, I don't mean just be reckless. I mean play it safe, but don't play it so safe that you live your life with regrets. And again, like we talked about, there is a hidden cost of playing it safe. And again, if that's your personality, I'm glad you came to this opportunity to watch this video, because my goal is to help people drive to do what? To be the best. And when you really want to be the best, you've got to do more. The guy who's the best, the lady that's the best, Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova, they didn't become the best in tennis because they just went and did minimal practicing, right? They practiced day, night, weekends. They made it a part of their life story. Venus and Serena Williams, Caitlin Clark, Aja Wilson, the people that are doing really well now in women's basketball, they practice and they do more. And the people that are the best, they do the best because they put more into it, more practice, more energy, and ultimately when it comes to it, more effort, more desire, more determination. So what I want you to leave from this episode today on is really making sure that you understand, because you can be calculated and you can take risk, calculated risk. Don't be reckless and just take risks that don't make any sense and go to the casino and blow your bill money. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't get caught up in playing it so safe that you never realize or reach your potential because you're sitting on a bench and just playing it safe. So in closing, if this opportunity today of listening to No Excuses, a Good Excuse podcast has moved you in any way, giving you some desire, giving you the motivation to get off the bench and stop playing life so safe, do me a favor, like or subscribe or follow, and look forward to our next podcast. This is ATW, over and out.